Hello and welcome to another Tulsa City County Library Virtual Renaissance Fair video for our summer reading program 2020. I am Miss Tori from the Glenpool Library, and today I am speaking with Don Ryan, who is the Director of Entertainment for the Oklahoma Renaissance Fair. Don, thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
So Don, what does Director of Entertainment entail?
The role is part project manager, part coach, part general, and part father. So it's a unique world where we start months and months in advance. We have a very specific process for developing our talent pool and creating that cohesive cast over a mere 5 weekends worth of academies.
So Don, how old do you have to be to participate in the Oklahoma Renaissance Fair cast?
At this point in time, 18 years and older, you need no experience. We have an apprentice program that allows you to come in and learn the tricks of the trade. In other words, we don't expect you to be a trained actor. And then if you are a trained actor, by all means, you can come and audition for one of our critical roles and come in through that venue. So lots of opportunities for anyone to be involved. We have cast members anywhere from 18 years old all the way up to 65, 70 years old. So it's definitely for everybody.
You mentioned the academy. That's the training for the actors. Can you tell us what they do there?
Well, academies start off for the average person when they enter with a lot of developmental paperwork and stuff. It's kind of almost a creative writing class where you develop your character, everything from your favorite color to how old you are, to how you feel about the King and Queen of England or whatever the scenario should be. And then quickly from there, we take the paperwork and kind of push it to the back and get the individual attendants up and on their feet and doing improvisational acting. So we basically play a lot of games to get them comfortable. We work on things like physicality, projection, understanding the stage presence around you. We like them to be highly creative and engaged with the patrons. Most of our theatrical stuff is void of the fourth wall. So we don't have, a typical stage. Our situation is we're right there with our audience and we're encouraging them to step across and have that interactive moment with us. So we go through probably a weekend of getting to know themselves, and we do a weekend of getting to know each other within the confines of what we call their peer group. So if you're a noble person, you're going to be working with noble persons for that second weekend. If you're a mercenary or a man-at-arms character, you're going to be working with similar characters in that time period, a villager, etc. And then when we move from that venue, we kind of grow our wings and we jump into mixing it up. So obviously 16th century England is very, very structured, and it's very, very tiered in levels of position. So now as a peasant, I got to learn how to act appropriately with the king and queen. As a knight, I need to be able to understand how to work appropriately with a peasant or a villager. So, I mean, all these things all come into play as we develop down that road. And finally, the final weekend, we do kind of a dress rehearsal where we actually bring in some of our patrons, our friends of the festival, and we get a free premiere day for them. And it lets us play with them one-on-one and kind of hone what we do. A lot of what we do is trial and error, learning it, intuition. I tell my people it's almost more like being a con man than it is being an actor, because you go out there and you look for your mark, which means someone who's willing to play with you, someone who's willing to engage you and create that little bit of magic. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you try to start up something with a gentleman whose wife just drug him down here and he has no interest in being here at all. And sometimes you just don't know where you're going to get the energy from. So they could literally come alive, and the guy who thought this is going to be the boringest day of his life had a good time. So that's kind of our goal. A little bit of magic.
It is a little bit of magic and a whole lot of acting coach and a lot of history teacher. So
Absolutely.
Between those two roles, acting coach, history teacher, which one takes up more of your time?
I look for more of the theatrical moments. I look for more of you know, we want to have these very, very lovely, intimate moments with our patrons. And then at the same point in time, we want to have these big, grandiose moments like our royal court at 11 o'clock and our opening gate at 10 o'clock, 10:30. Those are the big moments that probably historically never occurred. But there's some cadence to them. There's some expectations. There's both historical and accurate expectations. Plus, there's the perception of what the audience is coming to see. Sometimes we play to that, which is not necessarily accurate, but it's entertaining. So we like to say we play 16th century England as we hoped it would have been, as opposed to how it actually was.
Because it's just not the Renaissance fair without a North American turkey leg.
Absolutely. People don't realize that we didn't bring, you know, those are brought across. They never were part of England. You know, God forbid you realize that Shakespeare wasn't even born yet in our particular period. And that, let's see, our Sir Walter Raleigh is 3 years old. We make these adjustments to bring these bigger than life characters together at what we feel is a fairly, you know, pleasant time and period. We do 1569, which is young Elizabeth. She's not in her later reign, but there's some characters that weren't around yet that we really want to pull in. And then there's some characters that are carryovers, like Hans and Franz. Okay, they're Landsknecht, and literally the Landsknecht in 1569 are on the end of their grandeur. They probably wouldn't have been seen anywhere in England and probably wouldn't be part of the festival, but they're a carryover from our Henry the Eighth, you know, festival, when we had Henry VIII as our primary monarch. And so we want to create a popularity where people can come and see their favorite characters, and then we try to blend it all together where they can see the historical context. And we're the first to admit that absolutely we're not perfect. We're not trying to be.
I do have a great picture of Hans and Franz that I'm going to put on the screen right here at this moment.
Okay.
That guy looks familiar.
Sure. His beard might be a little darker. Let's just say I've been playing that character when it was naturally darker. Me and Tom are celebrating next year our 20th year playing those characters together.
Now, as the director of entertainment, you not only train the cast, but you plan all of the events, yes? Yes,
our festival is extremely busy. So, like I said, a project manager is part of my role. So one of the things that we have is a very scheduled metered day. During the day, we have obviously opening gate, we have court, we have parade, we have a queen's tea, a king's lunch, a royal smoker. We have 4 dance shows, and then we have 12 stages that are constantly going as well. And so you have to make sure those stages have the proper overlap. There's time for people to busk, which is take tips at the end, and there's time for them to introduce themselves and build their crowds. And you don't want one stage to overpower another stage. So there's probably a million moving pieces and variables in the festival. And honestly, after 25 years, we don't think about those a whole lot anymore because we've got some really good systems in place that make things happen. And we try to really work with our entire cast. And this is unique to OKRF, and I'm very proud of it. It's something that Jeff Hiller, the owner, is very much a proponent of. And that's the fact that our cast is not just the actors. Our cast is also our merchants, our vendors. It's also our site crew. It's also our stage acts. So even though our stage acts are on a rotation going to many other festivals, we've created a really good cohesion with them where we see them in the morning for our morning meetings. We make sure they have what's necessary to do their day. And it just creates a sense of a village that you don't always get when you go to a festival like this. So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, a big schedule. And then within the schedule, there's littler schedules, obviously. You know, we do nighttime events, which a lot of people aren't aware of. So of our 5 weekends, 3 of them, we have ongoing nighttime events, beginning with the second weekend, a masked ball, very Cinderella-esque with its own schedule and musicians and dancers. The third weekend then is our pirate feast, which is very, very popular. We literally transform the hall into a giant feast hall and serve about 280 people. Our fourth weekend is our Ceilidh, which is our big Irish party. It's an adults only event, but it's a lot of fun as well. So these all are events that kick off at 7 o'clock at night and finish by 10:30 with fireworks. And so those are just an add-on to the day's events. And guess who's at all of them? We get to open and close. So it's a wonderful situation.
What advice would you have for kids who want to do more of the stage directing?
I would always recommend being an actor before being a director. All right. I mean, and there's some people that's not their forte or their cut. They prefer to be behind the scenes, but to understand what the actor goes through makes it a lot easier to direct them. To understand what they could deal with throughout a day, especially within our world, is very, very important, because it is not necessarily a simple cut and dry situation. And the same thing holds true, I would imagine, to many stage productions. Ultimately, I would say become an actor first, learn the trade of what you're doing there, understand the energy that's being exchanged, and it's so much easier for you to direct that from the other side. And then when you become a director, and this is like very, very important, because, you know, as actors, there's a lot of charisma, not necessarily a lot of what I call linear thinking. You know, in other words, they're just incredible and they absorb that energy from the crowd. But when you become a director, you need to fall back 2 steps and keep your notes in front of you, keep yourself organized, and make sure that all the bases are covered and that things are happening.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Remember, our summer reading program lasts until July 31st. You have until then to read your books and earn your medal and to be entered into our grand prize drawings. Now remember, we have summer reading program prize drawings for babies, for kids, for teens, and for adults. So all ages are welcome to participate in our program. Again, I am Miss Tori from the Glenpool Library, and I hope you enjoyed this.